From athletic stuff like a full-court pickup game, swish, to athletic-ish stuff like a half-mile stroll. Get those steps in. Head to Sierra or Sierra.com for the brands you want at the prices that let you do it all. From athletic to athletic-ish, Sierra's got it.
We're here because your heightened awareness deserves heightened entertainment. The Last Show with David Cooper.
Is which chatbot you use, which large language model you trust to answer your questions, becoming a heated debate like pineapple belonging on pizza? Things like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini. Turns out switching bots can come with surprisingly real trade-offs. I'm here with someone who has recently written about this for Business Insider, where he is a reporter. His name is Henry Chandonnet. Henry, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Let's set the stage here a little bit. OpenAI, Anthropic, and the US Pentagon has suddenly made people reconsider which chatbot they are using. What exactly has been happening for those who haven't heard?
Yeah, so there's been this pretty long battle between Anthropic and the DoD, the Department of Defense, over the contract to use their technology, right? There was a movement to have more red lines in the contract to know specifically how the DoD would be using Anthropic's large language model and other tools. And eventually the talks fell apart, right? President Trump says the US government shouldn't be using Anthropic's tech at all. Just today, actually, a couple of hours ago, Anthropic sued the DoD. So those have almost entirely stalled. Meanwhile, almost immediately after the Anthropic's talks stalled with the DoD, OpenAI swoops in. They land an agreement, and there's a pretty immediate backlash, right? It looks to at least some users, like OpenAI, were willing to accept some of the agreements that Anthropic wasn't. It's not clear. OpenAI would say, no, we have hard red lines, and we have a contract that we think is fair and safe and ethical. But there was this pretty immediate backlash, right? Some staff have left citing it, and there was a movement, I think, to reconsider which chatbot you're using, and for people who were following it closely, maybe even to consider Anthropic over OpenAI.
And I think the fear of some users would be like the government's using these large language models, I don't know, to plan warfare or make decisions about immigration enforcement actions, like hot button issues. They're hoping that these AI companies won't have their large language models assisting the government in these things. Is that kind of the fear of some users?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on the user, right? The red lines are just that they want to know more about about how the government is using it and about the specifics, right? There are large language models that are assisting the government in things like immigration and defense and all of that. That already exists. The question is just to what extent and how specifically.
Now, to the users that are off-put by these announcements or happy that Anthropic, the deal's falling apart because it feels like they have some morals. I mean, side note, I do question the CEO of any large language model company, whether they have morals, but maybe that's a discussion for someone else. For the users that are happy with one company and not happy with another, what kind of switch are we seeing?
Yeah, so Claude pretty immediately surged in the App Store, right? Claude is Anthropic's chatbot. It went to number 1 in the free app charts. That is a ranking that has pretty much been dominated by ChatGPT for a couple of years at this point. It's been really hard to dethrone ChatGPT. And so it's a pretty clear sign that there's been some movement, right? That people are moving to Claude, or at least they are more interested in Claude after this news cycle. There's also been a pretty significant push from Anthropic to get people over there. You can see some messaging from Anthropic of, it's so easy to change chatbots, or just get this version of your user history and all of the data that ChatGPT has will then come over to Claude. So they're also trying to bring people over, or say, if you care about this, come to us.
So that's the stage. For someone who's never used any of these tools, who walk in cold, maybe they want help with their granny's apple pie recipe, or in my mom's case, her chopped liver and brisket. What is the difference between these tools, like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini? Is there a vibe or a personality to each one that's slightly different?
Yeah, there's a bunch of differences, right? The basic level is that these are all chatbots, right? They are all AIs that you can communicate with primarily through text. They also all have voice mode, so you can communicate them through audio or through speaking to them. Um, the primary difference, I would say, is about photo and video generation, right? Anthropic's Claude is almost entirely a text model. It can do some photo analysis, but if you say, like, make me a photo of, say, your granny's apple pie, it's not going to be able to do that. Whereas OpenAI's can, as can Google's Gemini. Then there's the personality difference and the kind of vibe difference that you were referencing that I think a lot of people care about, right? You hear a lot that maybe ChatGPT talks to you like a friend, where Claude talks to you like a colleague, or maybe to some extent, even a manager, right? I think that a lot of people understand Claude to be more professional, more buttoned up. And to some extent, that's nice, right? We've seen these kind of downstream effects of ChatGPT being so friendly. But also, some people want the advice from a chatbot who can speak so kindly and who feels like they know them. So it's all based on personal preference.
So if you want a demonstrably bad therapist, because there have been studies for those who use ChatGPT as a therapist, maybe you want that one. If you want one like a professional assistant or maybe like professional style writing, maybe it's Claude. Where does Google's Gemini fit in?
Yeah, Google's Gemini has a lot. And I think, honestly, as we see these AI chatbots pop up, because ChatGPT and Claude feel so new, Gemini sometimes flies under the radar. But it has most of the tech functionality that both of them have. And on top of that, right, it's integrated with Google, which is big for a lot of users, right? It's nice to be able to have the chatbot right there when you're searching, or when you're using Gmail, or when you're looking at your calendar, right? Those are workflows that we often already have. And so having Gemini right there can be helpful. Beyond that, right, there's the really fun uses. Gemini is the only one that can make music, which I think is fun. Beyond that, like, there's a little bit of a personality difference. Gemini can be maybe more leaning to the buttoned up Claude side of it, but that is really kind of how you have the conversation with it.
For those that can't bear to add another random Silicon Valley tech company to their $20 a month bill, like, yet another subscription, which one offers the best free version? Because I feel like that is hugely important here.
Yeah, they all have really substantive free capabilities, right? The things that you often pay for are the extra things that make it more professional, that I think that, like, average chatbot messenger is not really dealing with, right? There's the idea of like a rate limit, or just how many messages that you can send, but they're pretty high. You would have to be messaging a lot to hit it. And then there's things like these extra features, like a coding assistant. Both OpenAI and Anthropic have coding assistants that are really popular in software engineering. But, like, if you're just messaging about what recipe to make based off of the ingredients in my fridge, you probably don't need it. Video generation, image generation are free. The free options are almost substantive to cover anything that the average user would need. It's pretty across the board.
Now, back to our original conversation, ending on a serious note, values and ethics, like if I want to use a large language model that causes no harm, that can't be used by governments or corporations for discrimination or defense decisions, what might be my best option right now?
Yeah, look, it really depends on the user. What we can say, right, is that OpenAI has an agreement with the Department of Defense. That is true. That is clear. Beyond that, exactly what that agreement looks like, how the red lines are drawn, whether that's better than the red lines that Anthropic was wanting to draw with the DoD, is kind of person to person. I would really recommend. Sam Altman did like a big Q&A on his X feed, where he answered a lot of questions, and not only that, but he clarified more specifically the red lines that he was drawing. And if you want to make a decision, read through those and see how you feel about it. That's a great way to make the judgment call.
That's the CEO of OpenAI. Well, I'm here with Henry Chandonnet, a reporter at Business Insider. Read more about this topic on his article, Thinking of Switching Chatbots. Here's which features you'd gain or lose. That's in Business Insider. Henry, this has been a joy. Thanks for talking to me today.
Yeah, thank you.
This episode is brought to you by Athletic Brewing Company. No matter how you do game day, on the couch, in the crowd, or manning the snack table, Athletic Brewing fits right in. With a full lineup of non-alcoholic beer styles, you can enjoy bold flavors all game long. No hangovers, no buzz, no subbing out for water in the second half. Stock the fridge for tip-off with a variety of non-alcoholic craft styles available at your local grocery store or online at athleticbrewing.com. Near beer, fit for all times.